Doncs molt bé, molt bona tarda. Benvinguts en aquest acte. Avui és un dia important, consellera, per diversos motius. Primer perquè aquest vespre arriba la primavera, no sé si vosaltres, però quan sigui 1:15 d'11 canviarem d'estació i en aquest cas, jo que sóc home del temps i tinc una certa esperança d'aquest canvi d'estació que ens porti a part de primavera.
Basically, this situation of 30 months with no rainfalls, and as you know, this is the World Water Day, and this is why we are here today. And today, that is the World International Day. Basically, it will be our excuse, actually, in order to meet and to talk about water, because it's the International Water Day to start with, and also because we are talking about the Water Summit 2023, and because water has to be a priority. It's a priority basically to make sure that it is as clean as possible. And how we can do this? We do it just carrying out a process that is a group process. So that's why the logo this year is to accelerate changes thanks to partnerships and cooperations. So basically we need to talk about partnerships, alliances. So the 17 sustainable development projects. So we need to cooperate, we need to get together in order to make sure that we all have enough water and good quality water. So that's why we are here today. And the second reason that we need to be here in order to make sure that the reuse of water is done in the best way possible, and also that we are facing in the best manner possible this global emergency. So we have carried out this project, this LIFE project. It's an international European project called Water, Save and Reuse, which means that we need to use the water much better and reuse it much better. So that's why we are meeting today all here in this Euroregion. It's a Euroregion where we have all this Mediterranean regions, the Balearic Islands, the Occitania in France, and also Catalonia. We are here in order to work in collaboration through this alliance and in order to improve the reuse of the water. And this is the main reason for us being here today. And this actually, we are here in order to talk about governance and what this Euroregion needs to do in order to move on with this project is to really reinforce this type of meetings at the highest level possible. So this is why we are here this afternoon, in order to get a chance to get to know what's happening in all the different regions within this Euroregion. Actually, since the month of February, Catalonia is being the leader of this LIFE project. So that's why we are meeting in Barcelona, in Catalonia today, in order to celebrate this day. Just a few matters of logistics here. So those who need simultaneous translation, you have headsets that you can ask for, because some of the presentations won't be in Catalan. And also you can follow this event through the Catalan Water Agency YouTube channel. So welcome here. And actually the person who is going to open this event is the Minister Teresa Jordà, who's the Catalan Minister of Water of the government of Catalonia, and she is going to give you the opening speech. Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you so much, Thomas, for these introductory words, and in order also to introduce this World Water Day with all these different elements and perspectives that interest us today. And So that's why we wanted the most important figure of the Catalan TV, who talks about meteorology, to come and introduce this event. This event also belongs to all these events that we have been organizing with this transfer of presidency from Occitania to Catalonia. And we will have here for the closing remarks the Secretary General of the Catalan government for European relations, he is not here, but he will be here in just a few minutes. And this is an event that is linked to the LIFE project of the European Union. And if you allow me, I would like to welcome you here, and I want to welcome all the representatives of the European Commission who are here with us. We have very high representatives of the European Commission in Barcelona, the representative of the Environment Agency, and also of tourism from the European Commission also, and we have the Secretary General of the Euroregion, and we have also the Catalan Minister of Environment and Territory of the Balearic Islands government, the General Council of Occitania in France also, and we have the Director of the Catalan Water Agency. And thank you to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. I will try to be as brief as possible, but because I don't want to really disperse my speech here, but just a few elements of analysis. So first and foremost, what are the different elements that we need to take into account? Today, we need to keep on raising awareness on water because it's a fragile element, it's very vulnerable, and also it is absolutely essential in order to guarantee the quality, but also the sustainability of environment also, and the welfare and the life quality of the population. So water, as you all know, is absolutely key for life. It's key for people, for animals, for nature. So water is absolutely important for the welfare of the world in general. So that's why we believe that this is the most precious element that we have. So that's why we want to thank the Catalan Water Agency. We want to thank the Euroregion for the organization of this event. Thank you so much for highlighting the importance of water in our lives. And also, as Thomas said at the beginning, this year we need to accelerate the change. We need also to carry out citizens' actions also. And this goes in parallel, actually, with the very difficult situation that we are living. I don't want to go into the details of the situation that brought us here. The climate change that is here to stay, and this is going to affect many aspects of our lives. And one of the aspects is the water reservoirs here and our water resources. So that's why we all have to be very much aware of the importance of water. All the different public administrations have to work together, and the citizens also have a very important role to play in this sense in order to guarantee a water supply for the future. And I am absolutely aware of the fact that this situation is extremely complex and it is profoundly complicated, and I am absolutely aware that there are no fast and easy solutions, but we need to really foster dialogue, partnership, cooperation. It is a wonderful verb to cooperate. Cooperate means to move forward together, means to establish dialogues, to talk together, to walk, to speak. Basically, all these actions are absolutely paramount in order to face not only this challenge, but all the climate emergency situation challenges are putting. in face of us. And the president of the government of Catalonia, Pere Aragonès, announced it a few days ago. In Catalonia, we are going to organize a summit in order to talk about the drought. It will be next week, and we will keep on working, as we have been doing until now, with the four main uses of water, because we need to really work absolutely with all the different stakeholders, because we are prepared in order to face the challenge now, and we are using all the different leverage points that we have in our hands in order to really use in the best manner possible every single drop of water. And we need to prepare our country for the very dark scenarios that we are foreseeing in the future. And I was talking with many colleagues, and I believe that Thomas and all the other meteorologists share exactly the same thoughts. If it doesn't rain here, this will really motivate absolutely everyone in this country in order to start getting prepared for this new normalities, because if it rains, everyone will be happy and no one will start working. So all these resources that we have created now, will be using them for other things. So that's why we need to really get prepared, because this drought has taught us a lot of things. And of course, we can improve our actions. It is the responsibility of all, and we need to share this responsibility. So we need to make sure that this will never happen to us in the future. And this is the new normality, where water is becoming less and less available. And that's why we need to use it in the best manner possible. And we need to be aware at all times that water is not there at all times. And we need to really raise awareness. We need to make sure that we are explaining this to everyone, because many times we are asking the citizens for sacrifices and we tell them what they have to do. But many times those who are in the political world, we also are citizens, and we should not forget this. So maybe the politicians also need to do many things that we haven't done here. So we need to preach by giving the example also. So we need to face the challenge of the lack of water. We are going to improve the reuse of the water from here to the next 6 years. And also we are working on the building this desalination plant in Tordera. We have many other installations also. We are going also to foster the reuse of water. And the last year at the Catalan Water Agency, we have improved 40% the production of regenerated water compared to 2020. In 2 years, 40% more. So we foresee also to double our capacity of reused water in the 8 years to come. So this is our commitment. It is a very clear commitment to serve our population. And of course, the human beings are in the heart of our decisions. And the water of our citizens also is in the heart of our objectives. So we are going to keep on working in order to develop a model that is sustainable, because in my ministry we also take care of all the agricultural sector also, and that the agricultural sector is the one that suffers the most from the lack of water also, but they are the ones who are the the best prepared and aware of the situation in terms of improving the use of the water with this agricultural sector, the industrial sector, and all the rest of the sectors, and with the citizens also. We have to work all together in cooperation in order to really improve the sustainability of our use of water. And this is an absolute need for our country. It is our responsibility, and we are going to move forward in order to have a much better country, much more balanced and much more sustainable country in the future. And I'm absolutely convinced that this event today is going to be a success. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Moltes gràcies, consellera. I ara, per saber una mica més com...
And now, so how are we, what is this project, Life, Water, Save and Reuse? So we're going to give the floor to Mr. Xavier Bernard Sanz, who is the Secretary General of the Euroregion. Good afternoon, Madam Minister, Mr. Regional Minister also. Thank you very much. I'm extremely happy to be here at the Palau de Pedralbes. Thank you very much. As you know, since the month of February, the government of Catalonia is holding the presidency of the Euroregion, and it is the leader also of this LIFE project. So I want to thank Samuel Reyes and his team for here. So I want to explain about the Euroregion. We are historic 3 regions in political cooperation. We exist, we've been existing now for 20 years, you know, and we have worked also in cooperation with the European Commission, and we are seen by the European Commission as a pilot region in adaptation to the climate change, in also the best use of water, and also in cooperation. We have very high levels of research, universities, companies. We have very important international clusters also who work in water issues, and also, we started 5 years ago, all 3 governments meeting and thinking about the future of our Euroregion, and also with Occitania, with the Balearic Islands, and all our friends. We started thinking about what would be the challenges in the 5 years to come. And the first thing that we thought about was water, because water, as Thomas said, is absolutely everything. Economy without water is absolutely nothing. Industry is nothing without water, and tourism, which is because, you know, before the pandemic, we were the most important tourist destination in Europe, more than 55 million tourists a year. So that's why we decided to really work on a LIFE project. So the 2 water agencies, the Catalan Water Agency and the water agency in Occitania, and in also the Balears, also we decided to work all together, and we created this strategic partnership of different partners with all the development and Economic Development Agency in Occitanie, and the Strategic Tourism Agency in the Balearic Islands, and Eurecat also, in order to help us in this project, in order to move forward in research in the implementation of the different actions related to the tourism sector. And we started this project, and the idea behind it was to face this very important challenge of reducing 10% of our use of water. And this is the main goal of this project, to improve 9% also the reuse of water in the tourism center, because Madam Minister, she was talking about the improvement of the use capacity, and 40% also, and also all the three territories, basically, we are reducing 12% our use of water. So these are the main first challenges of our project. And we launched a communication also campaign that is very supple, very agile, and that really had an enormous success in all three regions. We started actually in the Balearic Islands. And of course, after the launch of this project, we had the COVID pandemic. So we went from 55 million tourists to close to none. And now we are back to an almost normal life now, but in the Balearic Islands there is a lack of water. So basically, if you go to our webpage, you are going to have all the information. So we have more than 6 million
on YouTube.
Of visits in Facebook also, just to give you concrete examples.
No está,
And because in the Balearic Islands we have all this information.
North Europa.
Especially when it comes from Northern Europe, they don't have the same vision as we do with regards to the use of water. It differs depending on the region we're from. In Catalonia, the campaign has beaten all records with Promote Water. We've also cooperated with more than 210 tourism offices, 40 operators and from the tourism sector, with a successful impact in promoting the use of water. And we've also carried out various awareness-raising activities with innovations, technical tools, because we have local companies that know all about this. And in Europe, they always see positively the way we can adapt to these situations, such as droughts and the efficient use of water in the tourism sector. Similarly, in Occitanie, we've also carried out a very original campaign in terms of promotion, savings, use of water. And I forgot to say that in Catalonia, we also created a tool which is the counter of the water footprint. I'm not a good student, I must say, but this shows the amount of water that is being used every day. And I must say, I think it's worthwhile to use it. If you have time later, you will be able to listen to the colleagues that will be presenting the project. And then I will also like to highlight the role played by local communities. Present here today, you are a good example of where these kinds of initiatives and actions can be carried out. These kind of pilot tests that, for us, are the most important thing when providing innovative solutions right now in governance. In the Occitanie, as I said, the communication Dessinus de l'eau that has reached 3 million people. It's been a success in France. Bear in mind that we have rivers. We have no problems with water, but actually we do. We haven't had any water for the last 2 months, and we have droughts that have affected areas much more severely than in Catalonia. We see this as a daily problem for farmers in France. This is also a problem there, not just here in Catalonia. So we see that we are embarked on a project that is seen with interest from Europe. And the idea is also, when I said that right now we are trying to develop results and outcomes, the idea is to do a calling, to encourage everybody, city councils, tourism operators, to participate. You will see specific success stories that will share their voice on the roundtable. Representatives from the hotel and catering industry, from clusters, from city councils. These are the examples, and also politicians. These are the examples that we want to showcase, showing that we can win, saving money, being more sustainable, and above all, to save water, which is so important for us. In the last stage of this project, because this is not the end, this is only the beginning, this is the first snapshot. Together with our partners, we want to talk about the 6 partners, the 6 governments in Sardinia, Malta, Corsica, the Canary Islands. They are awaiting the results of this project, and Europe is also awaiting them, so that we can present this project into Europe to other regions in Northern Europe, because for them, saving water is not a priority, but they are learning. We would also like to exert influence amongst national governments so that they can enact legislation considering the reuse of water. This morning we spoke at the plant in the Llobregat, and what they say in France is the principle of caution, which is nothing is done. And the issue with that, if nothing is done, then we will die of water, or because of the lack thereof. Working together among the regions, the states will become aware of this. The representative of the European Commission should assist us to ensure that this legislation can evolve and that which will allow the tourism industry and the agricultural arena, thanks to the Department of Climate Action. I would like to thank the Agricultural Department of Occitania and the Balearic Islands for assisting us in raising awareness amongst all farmers. Let me just say that we started the work already. This afternoon you will see success stories, and let me say that this project was carried out with all partners, despite the problems caused by COVID, and we should thank the representatives from the European Commission for the extended period in completing the project. It was difficult at first, but right now we're starting to see the results, and I'm very glad to introduce what you will be seeing this afternoon. Thank you so much to you all, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Mr. Xavier Bernard-Sanz, for this presentation. And we've also prepared a brief video explaining in more detail this European project.
Is an international and interregional 3-year project on saving, reusing, and reducing water, founded by the LIFE program of the European Union and led by Euroregion Pyrenees Mediterranean. Wat'Savereuse, financed with more than 1.5 million euros, of which more than a half come from European funds, represents one of the few projects selected within a line of environmental governance and information. In addition to the Euroregion, the consortium brings together 8 partners from the territories of Catalonia, the Balearic Islands, and the region of Occitania. Life Wat'Savereuse will help alleviate the water scarcity and drought by conducting awareness-raising campaigns aimed at 4 target groups: tourists, municipalities, suppliers, and local authorities. Therefore, we will report on the benefits of water legislation and on national initiatives to promote the circular economy, particularly in terms of consumption and reuse, specifically in the tourism sector, by emphasizing the Mediterranean basin. The Canary Islands, Corsica, Sardinia, and Malta are actively involved in the project working group, participating in replication and capitalization activities. Throughout the project, events will be held to advance and achieve the 7 expected results. Among them, we highlight a 20% reduction in water consumption in hotels, a 9% increase in water reuse strategies in the tourism sector, and a 12% increase in water savings by public administrators. You can find more information about the project here. These are our partners. Welcome to Life Wat'Savereuse.
So you've seen the idea of this project. Now it's about seeing how it has evolved and what are the success stories behind it. What work has been carried out? And that's why we have the people responsible for each of these partners. We'll start with Catalonia. José Manuel Reyes. Samuel Reyes is here with us. He's the director of the Catalan Water Agency. Thank you, Tomás. Thank you. Catalan Minister, authorities, and the last to speak on behalf of Catalonia. Many of the things have already been said. The Catalan Minister has already explained the situation we are living in. And I would like to remember what she said to me this morning. If it rains and we overcome the drought, we need to continue to work to prevent this from happening in 10 years' time. We need to ensure that no one will say that the government of Catalonia did not do its homework. This is the key message, to continue to work even if it starts raining. If it does, we will continue with our actions. This is a very personal project to me because when I am the Director General of the Catalan Water Agency, and Isona Garau is here as well with Xavier. We were deciding what this project should be about. Xavier explained it, I will not repeat so, but we saw it was very important to talk about tourism and to speak about reused water. We are at a stage when it seems that this project is a perfect fit, because nowadays tourism is a very important factor in Catalonia, and this is what I was going to talk about, especially in this current day and age of water scarcity. I would like to focus on reuse of water. Let's consider that in Barcelona, the water that we are turning into drinking water in St. Joan d'Espí, and the plant there, is regenerated water from the wastewater treatment plant from El Prat and 3/4 of river water. So there is regenerated water in Barcelona, and it's being used as drinking water. And I love the slogan, association and cooperation, because we will only be able to overcome this crisis, this drought, if we all work together. This is what this project has done. This water save reuse has been focusing on tourism and reuse water. As I said, as Xavier said, 7 city councils were involved, 200 tourism offices, 40 tourism establishments, and without the tourism industry, we would not be able to do anything, because they are pioneers in Catalonia. They are necessary, with the involvement of the clusters and operators as well as research centers. So thank you all for your active participation. Right now we are starting. I can see the director of the cluster, Xavier Amores. We are starting with some informational sessions along with the Director General for Tourism and the entire tourism industry of Catalonia, precisely to see how to tackle over this summer the possible droughts. And this project is very good for us because it focuses on 2 things in Catalonia: on raising awareness. We have done this in the 3 territories, and also on training and technical advice. The awareness-raising campaign has been related to how to reduce consumption, what needs to be done, how tourists will need to apply the same limitations we impose on ourselves at home. This is one of the main concerns. The Minister for Water, Livestock and Farming needs to ensure that all uses are met. We cannot allow the tourists to come and to do an exaggerated use of water, because the aim here is to take back memories, not water. And then the economic activities and citizens here lack water to make ends meet, especially with food, which is a basic need. As I said, we need our food sovereignty. But I would like to take advantage of this opportunity and say that behind each drop of water, there's an economic activity. And behind tourism, there are families. In the farming industry, there are families. In industrial activities, there are also families. So between all of us, we must cooperate to ensure that water reaches us all. This project has focused primarily on raising awareness amongst tourists and also on the part of business owners, because they also need to apply these measures. And the 3 regions have done this. But then the Catalan Water Agency, or Catalonia, is incumbent on providing technical advice and information. We created good best practices tools, measures for savings, technological approaches. We've had several meetings with the cluster, and we also spoke about management models. And the Director General for Tourism has been involved, and they are leading with some soft credits for the tourism industry so that they can adapt. I can say that this government of the Catalan government is involved with the drought. The President of the Catalan Parliament was the first to visit the Catalan Water Agency last year, with whom several meetings are being held to address this topic, because it is a topic of concern. This is the project, and the future is talking about regenerated water in Barcelona. We are actually drinking our own water, and maybe in the future we will need to close the cycle. We will need to be more self-sufficient in the metropolitan area, and this will allow the basin of the Ter River to be more self-sufficient, and for all industrial activities, and the entire population living in that region will be much more resilient. And that is why we must invest, as the regional minister just said, more than 120 million euros in the next 5 years. But let me ponder on that, because usually the things are thought after the water has left the building. But if you didn't see the football yesterday, you probably saw the 30 Minutes program on TV3. They spoke about the ethical code and the building code in Sant Cugat, where all the grey water from showers and toilets go down the drain, and this allows to generate some 30 liters per inhabitant per day in each of the households. This is a saving of 30%. It's very important. We would be saving transportation of water to the wastewater treatment plant, treating it and turning it into drinking water. It wouldn't make any sense to use drinking water for sprinklers or just flush the toilet with drinking water. We need to work on raising awareness and providing information and technical advice to the sector and its stakeholders, assisting with the technical guidelines. From the agency, we will be providing tax measures by reducing the water canon or rate to make it much more appealing for the industrial sector. And basically, these are our lines of action. The future is key. It is key if we all work together. This is not just up to us, the Catalan Water Agency. This is up to us all. We need to work together along with the Costa Brava Consortium, with the Aigües de Tarragona Consortium, with AMB, Waters of Barcelona, Aigües de Reus, all sectors, all stakeholders are important, and all institutions too. We must improve the quality of water in the Besòs River, and this will allow us to turn it into drinking water and be more resilient. This is the future. This is our agenda, that of the Catalan Water Agency. Whether it rains or not, water will accelerate the implementation of these actions. We shall see, but we should all work together hand in hand. Thank you to all the stakeholders, to Montse, to the team of the agency, and through all the regions for implementing this project. And as Xavier said, if we make this step to apply it to the agricultural industry and for it to become a benchmark amongst Catalan, Balearic, and French professionals to exploit this, to export this project throughout Europe. Thank you so much.
Doncs moltes gràcies.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Reyes. Now we will listen to the Minister of Environment and Territory of the Balearic Islands, Mr. Miquel Mir. Well, thank you very much, Tomas. Catalan Minister, Minister, authorities, dear friends, it is always a pleasure to visit this sister land with constant ties, recurring ties. It is a true pleasure for me to be able to participate in this event and to see how this room is full, which comes to show how important this topic is. And above all, how important these days are for raising awareness amongst the population and to increase synergies with a view to the future. My first remarks are those of fraternity to the situation being witnessed currently in Catalonia. Minister, you have my entire support. I am aware that you are working very hard with this conviction of trying to have a better, more resilient country for future generations. From the Balearic Island, unfortunately, we know what you're talking about. We are a territory which is rather fragile from many points of view, but specifically from a water point of view. We have had to face very similar situations in the past, similar situations to those or to the one that Catalonia is facing today. But I'm sure that with your hard work, you will be able to revert the situation. So I wish you the very best. Indeed, we are dealing with one of the most strategic topics for the future. The situation of ecological and territorial emergency witnessed by this planet, and in particular by our regions and in the Mediterranean basin, is a situation that shows major, huge challenges, not just for the future, but also for the present. As part of this territorial context, some challenges may be this may be one of the most ambitious challenges as a society. The water management, the management of water, understood as a whole. It is our task. We as a society must be more resilient in the face of a situation that we all see as something complex. In order to convey this message, and in order to not repeat what previous speakers have said, allow me to say that as part of this huge challenge, that is the management of water, the first step to be made oftentimes neglected, because sometimes many would believe it would be impossible, but we should not neglect actions like these. We should not forget things like consumption, the reduction of consumption. Later, I will refer to reuse, but first, we should not forget of the reduction in consumption. And I am a representative of an autonomous community, of a region where precisely we are subject to a very peculiar consumption because it is limited, or it has an exponential increase with an entropic, and it's very seasonal. And this brings about challenges in the availability of water resources and the management of this availability. It is therefore important, as part of the closer horizon, to focus on policies that reduce the use of water, and this statement could be applicable to other resources, such as energy. The second consequence of this equation revolves around the reuse of water. This is a call to us all. The administrations are affected by this. As the minister just said, it affects us all in our daily citizen lives. We should not think that our individual actions do not have a significant cumulative effect in the management of water. So we should all be very, very aware of this call. We should take it personally. From the Balearic Islands, with this spirit in mind, over the past years, we've taken important steps, which 5-6 years ago could have been unthinkable, and which undoubtedly are taking us to embark on a journey along the right lines, in the right way. We're talking about a significant increase of initiatives that have already been applied, that have clear examples on reuse. We are working a lot from the Directorate General of Water Resources and the Balearic Water Agency to open up this mindset as to the fact that reuse is not only viable or possible in some economic sectors, such as the agricultural sector, but that there are other possibilities and means for reuse that need to be explored. This morning, we saw the possibility of infiltration of regenerated water in underground water, as we have seen projects in the Balearic Islands. So we need to be wise. We need to work in synergy with all the stakeholders involved to be able to increase this capacity of reuse.
Actually, one of the challenges that we have in the Balearic Islands is to improve our regenerated water. Actually, we're reusing now 30% of our water that has been filtered, because actually it's been very difficult for us to have more and more people interested in this reused water. Basically, we need to have a technical capacity for the reuse of water and for filtering the water, and then we need to really have a growing interest in this type of water. So that's why we need to have projects like the one that we have the opportunity to share with all of you. These are the projects that are going to really mainstream these new technical ways of reusing the water. So that's why I'm extremely satisfied with this project, because as we heard before, it has two main pillars, basically, which is to really help the tourism sector in its water management, and this is extremely important for us in the Balearic Islands, because you know that our territory, we have a very important tourism economic activity, especially in the summer months. So that's why we have we have very high pressure times with very few water resources, and that's why we need to work with the tourism sector, and it's absolutely paramount because as you know, the tourism sector is the largest user and consumer of the water. Actually, there are many studies that say that 25% of the water use is by the tourism sector, and we need to accelerate the change of paradigm. So that's why we need to work all together with all the different stakeholders in this sector. So that's why through this project and within this need also to raise awareness and to disseminate information, we have organized different meetings with different stakeholders that really play a very important role in the use and reuse of water. So that's why now we have started working with all these different stakeholders. So we had a huge participation of the tourism sector in the Balearic Islands, and the government of the Balearic Islands has dedicated 8 million euros from European funds in order to improve the use of the water. And we are going also to dedicate 20 million euros also to all the different municipalities in order to improve the use of the water. So that's why through this cooperation, the cooperation with not only the other administrations but also the different stakeholders and different sectors are very important. We need to work all together in order to reach the same goals and to face the same challenges. So all the different economic and social sectors need to work hand in hand. So that's why I'm completely convinced that these projects and all these initiatives are going to be very important pillars for the future. We need to really analyze what are the different challenges that we have in our territories and elaborate plans in order to work for the service of our populations. So that's why I want to thank you very much for all the very hard work that you have carried out. I want to thank all the different teams here. I want to thank you, Xavier, from the Euroregion. Also, I remember at the beginning of this project the very important conversations we had. So I see now that this project is gaining importance with time. So that's why I'm extremely happy for this, and thank you very much.
Moltes gràcies, senyor Miguel Mir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miguel Mir. And we have Mr. Eric Cadeau from Occitania, and he's the Secretary General of Risk Management and Water in the Région Occitanie. Good afternoon. Madam Minister, Mr. Minister, Mr. Director of Euroregion, dear representatives of the European Commission, also dear technicians in the water sector, I want to thank you. I want to thank the Pyrénées-Méditerranée Euroregion also for organizing this event in this fantastic city of Barcelona. I have the honor to represent Carole Delga, the President of Occitanie and the President of the Regions of France that just passed the presidency to Catalonia. I want to tell you that this week is extremely important for our Occitanie region and our international and European cooperation strategy, and especially in the water sector in the context of climate change. We have the pleasure to participate to this meeting, and on the 22nd of March in Toulouse, we are going to organize also in the headquarters of our region also a meeting for the water in order to present the new water plan that our region is going to adopt this summer. And next Thursday in our plenary meeting, we are going to adopt our new international strategy, because we have the ambition to make sure that our region is proactive at a European and international level, but also that we're going to be proactive in our territories. Our strategy is based on the values of our region: humanity, solidarity, giving the example, and these are our priorities in terms of fighting climate change, the equality of chances, and fighting discriminations, and trying to find new markets to really give an added value to our products, our territories. So whatever we use highlights the importance of the reuse of water in the tourism sector, and also facing the droughts and the lack of water in the Mediterranean basin, and with main goals of reducing 30% the use of water. And this is important of the water consumption, but also we have very good examples in Catalonia and Barcelona of water reuse, and this gives us beautiful ideas. We want to really foster the collaboration between the different administrations. We're talking about public administrations and all the value chain operators, public-private cooperation. So that's why we are extremely interested in the Occitanie region to participate in this type of programs. And tourism in Occitanie brings 15.9 billion euros. It's 10% of our regional GDP. We have 185 million hotel nights, and this is the second industry in our region. So we have the Mediterranean, we have the Pyrenees, and our region has an amazing tourism diversity, cultural tourism, nature tourism, the wellness also tourism, but also rural tourism also in the heart of our territories. And also that's why the water management is a main challenge in our region from the environmental point of view, but also for our economic and demographic development. Of course, we have very important pressures on our water reserves also, and also this creates a lot of conflicts in this situation of climate change. So with the development of tourism and leisure, we are developing a new ambition for tourism in order to carry out a structural change in our tourism infrastructures, in order to make sure that tourism will become a sustainable and a growth factor. And we have an ambitious policy of sustainable management of the water with our regional plan for water and the Green New Deal also for Occitanie Mediterranean. We have launched a study in order to define the different potentials of reusing the used water in our region, and also we have another project of circular water economy in the Garonne area, and also to improve the resilience of the territories. We have decided to create a new water plan in order to improve the competencies of the region, because we don't have these powers from the central government, but we believe that this is very important for us. So that's why within this Whatever We Use project, so we have drafted a document with beautiful examples of integrated solutions for tourism and water, and this was elaborated by companies in Occitanie. We have technological tools, innovative services also, and adapted actions. We have raised awareness. Also, we have talked about good practices. We have helped all the different stakeholders in order to improve their activities, and also we have created different labels, the economic label, tourism, qualité tourisme, all those different labels, basically. So you see that based on our strategies and all the cooperation between the different agencies, our region wants to promote a new model of development that is based on these new virtues. We need to work on environmental, social, economic changes being inspired with what is being done in Europe and in the world. So that's why our region wants to be innovative and inspiring. So our road map wants to create a very important change from here to 2030, and we have tried to really carry out all the European actions in different projects like this one, but many others also. So European cooperation is absolutely essential in order to face these challenges. So that's why we are following with huge interest the result of these works. So in next April, we will have the presence of the European Commission meeting in Occitanie. We're going to continue participating within our Pyrénées-Méditerranée Euroregion, and I wish you a wonderful event here, and thank you so much for having me here.
Doncs moltes gràcies, senyor.
Thank you so much for the representation of the Occitania region, and we're going to have a round table also where we're going to exchange information of good practices. We have Lucia Gusmaroli, and we are going to hear about all these different experiences. So I would like to invite all the participants here to come here. We have Luis Sala, Laura Perez, Marcos Pecos, and we have Miguel Dalmer and Anne-Michel Cavaillés, who are going to talk about their good practices in the reuse of the water, the different infrastructures. And now I'm going to present briefly our speakers, and I'll give you the floor in order for you to talk about your different experiences. So we have from your left Luis Sala, who is the head of the Costa Brava Girona Water Services. He studied biology at the University of Barcelona, and he started in 1989 his professional life with a project of reuse of the water in the Gulf course of Playa Daro. In 1993, started working in the consortium of Costa Brava Girona Water Services in order to develop the reuse and regeneration of water in Costa Brava. Since 2012, he is working also in water supplies, and he is the head now of these services. And then we have Laura Perez, who is a coordinator, and she is responsible for the environment and data protection in Malgrat de Mar, and basically with a wonderful plan of sustainable management of water in Costa Brava, and she's been working for 23 years in this field. And then we have Marcos Pecos. Marcos is the president of Calvia 2000, that is a public operator, and he is responsible for transparency, innovation, and economic services in Calvia, and he was a member of the City Council of Calvia, and since 2015 until 2018, he was the Director General for Sports in Calvia. And then we have Miguel Galvez, who is a Director for Sustainability of the TUI Hotels. He has many years of experience in management of sustainability and infrastructure in the tourism sector, and he is specialized in sustainable development of water, sustainable management of energy and team building. And for Occitanie, we have Michel Cavaillès, who has more than 40 years of experience in the development of leisure infrastructures in France and in the world. And now he is a technical counselor of the Union of Occitanie city councils. And thank you so much for being with us. We are going to start with the first case. Luis, if you can talk about your activities. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us to be here to talk about our success. I don't know if I can talk about success. It's up to you to decide. Of what we have done in Costa Brava and Girona for these 30 years, we have been managing our water resources and basically this follows my own professional interests. So the first thing I want to say is that the consortium was created in 1971 when many city councils in the coast of Girona believed that they had to really reuse the used water in order to improve the water management in the tourism sector. And so we have an institution that groups all the different authorities in order to improve the water supply or to improve the quality of the water. So that's why we worked in order to improve the different solutions that we have. And so we need to reuse the water to improve the quality of the reused water and also to recuperate this water in order to face the water supply needs.
Since 1989, some projects were carried out by the Technical University of Catalonia under the management of Rafael Mujeriego and the consortium of the Costa Brava, along with the 4 entities that agreed to develop a project, a demonstration project to demonstrate the effectiveness of regenerated water as a resource for irrigation purposes. Since this was seen positively, the consortium was interested in developing these resources in other areas of the Costa Brava. So over time, the other existing golf courses of the Costa Brava have become irrigated with regenerated water. We also supply water to a series of small irrigation communities, usually located close to wastewater treatment plants, but with concessions for regenerated water. And therefore, the viability or feasibility of the exploitation does not depend on the climate, but rather on their direct connection with the treatment plant. And as a result, they have guaranteed supply until or up to a certain flow. I would also like to recall that in the middle of the 1990s, we went to the first call of the cohesion funds of the EU. At that time, it was for municipalities over 50,000 inhabitants or for consortiums bringing together that number of inhabitants. And we presented water regeneration projects, some of which are still in operation today. They provide water for agricultural purposes or for golf courses. But I would also like to highlight specifically one project, which is the one that applies to the marshlands of Empúria Brava. These marshlands have water that is produced in wastewater treatment. They end up there as water that has an environmental use, let's say. And I would also like to recall that as a result of the most recent drought, there are 2 municipalities in the Costa Brava who have done their homework, Tossa de Mar and Lloret de Mar. Working in parallel, and in the year 2007, they started operating some small municipal regenerated water networks. Thanks to this, nowadays, they are much better equipped. They are better prepared to address the current drought. If they want to have the greener gardens of Catalonia, they can have them, because the water they use for irrigation is not the same one that people use to drink. And all of these uses usually used with drinking water, and people will doubt, will think twice before doing it. I think that they can continue with their normality because they have been able to develop regenerated water strategy. This is the current context. And I must say that we are an area that with a lot of water scarcity. That's why the Costa Brava Consortium is supplied with 20 million. 30,000 is purified and treated, but there's more water than ever at the same time. 20 million plus the 10 million and the 30 that we treat. But by and large, most of them go to the sea. The challenge is to learn what to do with this resource that we are discharging into the sea to improve our resilience in the face of situations of drought. Thank you very much, Luis. Let's continue with the second success story. Laura, can you tell us about the measures you have implemented at the Samba Hotel? First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to explain our case, which I hope will be useful so that someone can take it back with them. We started in the hotel and catering sector in 1972. Soon, we turned 50. Of these 50 years, the last 25, we tried to be more sustainable, optimizing resources. In 1992, when we started to try to embark on a project to gain ISO certification, the Catalan government asked us that we had to present a project of some resources that could justify this. At that time, the maintenance team decided to do the water optimization project and to carry out the installation as part of a greater refurbishment that we had expected to carry out. Water collection consists in collecting the water from the basin and showers, taking it to a general depository where it is used for the flushing of toilets. Over these last 25 years, we have tried to optimize and improve. We have motorized all water outlets throughout our hotels, and we have tried to control this supply to be able to obtain the total number of reutilized water. The most recent data is one from 2019, where we were able to collect more than 9,000 cubic meters. Roughly, these would be 2.5 Olympic swimming pools. And having seen these results, we thought we had reason to be happy. But in the face of the current situation, what we think is, how can we use and reuse this water much more to lend it a new life? We are participating in projects with LICRA. A previous colleague explained about this reuse through ornamental plants to be able to give a second life, and not only in an internal cycle, but to be able to reuse water much more. We think this is not the most that we can do. Our intention is to carry on with this project, along with others that will come our way, because we're always open to any partnerships, and above all, with this campaign, because this was communication to customers. How can you inform customers and clients that in addition to being a sustainable hotel, your strong asset is that when you go to a hotel, although everything seems to be party because everything's paid for, well, it's not really it. This is very important too. We implemented other measures, such as we're working on a project on the eco-sustainable bedroom, by means of which we will be informing customers that during their stay, they will be able to optimize the resources, waste in the room, the time they stay there, and whatever they use during their stay to improve the environment. We give awards as an incentive, and we are obtaining good results. And we want to continue along these lines, optimizing the resources used more and more. Thank you very much, Laura. Now we have seen the Catalan part. Let's move now to the Balearic Islands, and let's listen to the point of view of an operator such as Calvià 2000. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I would like to thank the Catalan Minister for the invitation. I would like to thank the organizers and sponsors. And I would like to thank the other minister, the Director General for Water Resources of the Balearic Islands, José María Garau, because as I will say, thanks to the public and private cooperation in Calviá Council, we could be considered as a success story. The municipality of Calviá is an average-sized municipality, but because of the transformation of the tourism activity, it becomes for many months during the year into a large municipality, a municipality receiving significant influence of an important population. Just for you to have an idea, during the 1960s, we had in the region of 3,000 inhabitants in the municipality, and the main activity was agriculture. In only 2 decades, we've gone from 3,000 inhabitants to more than 20,000 or 30,000. And in the 80s, most of the population there, or let's say 80% of our economic activity, was dependent on tourism. We had 30,000 inhabitants and 30,000 tourism seats. In 2023, we have 50,000 inhabitants and 60,000 tourism beds. So you can have an idea what this means when managing a scarce or finite resource such as water. In a municipality that is subject to a historical water stress, the pressure exerted on us is very important since the 80s, as I said. And as a result, this was a huge challenge for us. Roughly, we have 145 square kilometers of extension, 19 nuclei of population for these 50,000 inhabitants, and almost all of the residents live in tourism settlements. So the management of water, sustainable management of water, is very important. And that is why since 2005, more or less, we designed a plan for the reuse of water in the municipality that has gone hand in hand with the various approvals or reviews of the general plan. Because managing sustainable water in a tourism area cannot be understood if the design with a 50 or 40-year view do not go hand in hand. That is, unless we're capable of drafting a municipality, a tourism municipality, which will make it possible to reduce the consumption of water by considering a different urban planning approach, we would always be swimming against the current. That is why, in the design of our plan, we took into consideration, first and foremost, the improvement of the quality of our infrastructure. We have 4 wastewater treatment plants, 2 water regeneration plants, 1 inaugurated in 2022, thanks to the help of the Regional Ministry of the Environment and to the Director General of Water Resources. This has allowed us to be pioneers in the management and regeneration of water in the Balearic Islands. In turn, it's a challenge, an obligation for us, because, as the Minister said, it is not only about regenerating water, it is about reducing the use of water. We have a significant challenge ahead of us. Each of our visitors, more than 2 million visitors in the municipality over 1 year, 9 million overnight stays altogether, means that, and bearing in mind that the behavior is different to that of a resident, this means that we have a special interest in reducing consumption. Once we have the plan, once our wastewater treatment are in suitable condition, and once we are able to innovate, and the building of the new regeneration plant is underway, we have accompanied this with the extension of the network. We had 45 kilometers of regenerated water networks. Now we have a project to reach 150 kilometers, and in addition to extending this network and to try to reach potential consumers, what we have done is to provide a legal umbrella. We just approved a municipal order for the sustainable management of water, which is a pioneering initiative in municipalities like us, and we are working on an economic study for a tax regulation, so that potential consumers can see that there are many advantages. One, which is sustainability. But oftentimes sustainability does not suffice, and we need to focus on financial gain. So this is just one example. Later on, Lucia, we might have the opportunity to talk about this. I wouldn't like to extend myself too much. So just let me give you one example to see how the sustainability is very important. But if we couple this with economic management, we can provide the necessary boost from public administrations So in conclusion, basically the goals mentioned at the beginning in the opening of this session are very much aligned with what we do. This is the only way in which, from the administration, we can continue to promote, push, and create or raise awareness, as has been said, amongst our residents and in a topic as important as water management. Thank you, Marcos. Let's continue with an example from the Balearic Islands with Miguel. Miguel will tell us about a case related to the hotel and catering industry. Yes, good morning. Good afternoon, should I say. Thank you for inviting me. Congratulations for organizing this event. I am here in representation of the private initiative as part of the Balearic Islands. I very much agree with what it says here, partnership and cooperation. So I believe this is a very good way of exchanging things and ideas. I have been invited to explain to you the Robinson Cook La Serena hotel of the TUI hotel chain in the east of Mallorca. It's an area of Mallorca known because the water there is extremely hard. It's harsh, where there's a lot of lime. And it comes from aquifers mainly. There are no desalination plants nearby. And this means that our area is an area where all hotels, the large consumers of water in summer. In winter, we open, but most hotels close during the winter. But most hotels, all hotels there, have specific installations for softening this water. And these facilities, these premises, entail an investment, a maintenance, putting salt, so on and so forth. They bring about certain inconveniences. When I joined the company in 2011, I started working on energy efficiency. We created geothermal areas, and then we got in touch with a water treatment company. They had a very good project. We reached an agreement, and we took advantage of that opportunity to endow the hotel with a desalination plant. And I must say that this was in 2014. So in 2015, we opened that plant and we redid the entire general circuits of the hotel, or pipes. You must think of this hotel as a resort, 6,000 beds, but with a total extension of 100,000 square meters. And the distances are vast, 12 blocks of customers. So all of these pipelines going from one block to another had to be redone. So we started from scratch with a new desalination plant, with new pipes, new conduits, everything. We went from having hard water with lime in our pipes, with the drawbacks this entailed in terms of maintenance, damages, and also the warming of water, because we had to warm this warm water, warm the lime in the pipelines, many drawbacks. And all of this disappeared when we were able to start producing our own water in-house at half the price of what we were paying for the public water. This price included everything: electricity, amortization, chemical products, you name it. If some of you would like to know the price, I can tell you later. With this, we were able to change the paradigm. But in addition to this, there is something else I would like to make clear. As a company, we took advantage of this opportunity, but we also considered that this model can be fully extrapolated, because one of the problems that we have in this area of Mallorca, which I know really well, but I think many of the coasts where there are many hotels will be in a similar situation, is maritime intrusion. When you empty an aquifer, you get the inflow of seawater. With this measure, we were able to save 70 million liters of water a year. Many Olympic swimming pools that we no longer consumed from our aquifer. And this aquifer no longer is no longer needed by us. I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to invite all of those large consumers who are close to the sea, not those inland, but those who are next to the sea. I encourage you to disconnect, to create a self-consumption facility. In the same way, there is energy self-consumption, so I encourage you to opt for water self-consumption so that you can detach yourself from the water consumption from aquifers and do a self-supply within the hotel. So there will be more questions, right? I have something else to say, but I can say so later, maybe. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Miguel. And now we go to the Occitanie with a case that it is not a hotel nor a municipal supply service. This is the case of the Poits, of the Port Camargue. Michel? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me to Barcelona to talk about the management of water in leisure ports. I want to thank the Occitanie region and its agencies that has helped us since the beginning. I represent the 50 ports in Occitanie, 30 maritime and 20 river ports. We are the third nautical region in France, actually, and I was a director, and I just I always had water in the heart of my actions from the very beginning. So in the region of Camargue, we always had many challenges related to water management. So I carried out 3 actions. The first action was to secure the water resources. I'm in the Gare département, and I am very close to the Rhone River. So basically, I developed this network of water resources that we have. So we have the irrigation network, and we have the drinking water network. So we have a territory. Actually, we have more than 10 hectares of green areas with a huge water consumption. So thanks to the Rhone River, basically, we have been able to maintain these green areas and to secure the water supply. So basically what we did recently, with the help of the region, we connected our technical centers. So basically, you know that for the maintenance of the boats, we need to clean them, so we could connect the irrigation network to our technical centers. So we improved the use of the water. We're talking about 5,000 boats. We are the largest port in Europe. So it's like a small city. So we need to secure the water, but also to diversify the different water resources. And I carried out the monitoring and the follow-up of the water consumption. And in 20 years, we doubled our results and our revenues, and but the consumption of water was exactly the same throughout these years, so here we're talking about dozens of kilometers of pipes, and we also had a geographical geolocalization system also of all the water supply. So we can really, in less than half an hour, work on a leak, and we have teams who can work 24 hours a day, and this was absolutely essential. The monitoring part was very important, and the follow-up of consumption was extremely important. So we have per sector, per month, per area, etc. So all this water consumption is centralized and analyzed. So we know who are the clients who consume the most water, and if we have any leaks also that we cannot diagnose very fastly, we can detect them through this monthly follow-up. The main goal is to really have a much better and closer follow-up. We still need some newer technologies in order to do this. My objective was to offer information to each client about their monthly and yearly water consumption, depending on the category of boats. So basically, if they consume more than a certain level, they will have to pay a tax. And this is the part where, because, you know, we have the carrot and we have the stick. So this is the stick, if you want. And we are developing this in the next years. But I just retired a month ago. So when I retired, we were just installing this system, and we'll have very good results. And I'm sure that when we inform the clients about their water consumption, and we have 30% of decrease of water consumption as a result of this. And the very last action, which is the simplest one to put in place, but that is also, it depends on the clients, is the awareness raising. So what we do every summer, we invite all the people who come to our ports. We talk about the good actions, practical actions, because 80% of the water consumption is water that is misused in the cleaning of the boats. We explain to them that they don't need to have drinking water to clean their boats. They can clean 80% of the cleaning. They can do it with sea water, and the rest they can do it with drinking water. And also we have a clean certificate that will become a European green label now. And of course the water consumption is absolutely essential to have this European label of green ports. So in the eastern part of the region we have improved very much our actions, and in the western part of the region it's much more difficult to really manage the water. And so for the first time, everyone said that drinking water to drink is fine, but you cannot use it to clean the boats anymore. And it is an extremely difficult situation. And so we need to improve the reuse of used water. And in France, we have very strict regulations. And even if we wanted to develop this type of reused water project, it was very difficult to the very heavy regulations that we have. For example, use the shower used water to clean the boats, for example, but our legal framework does not allow to do this. So that's why it's extremely important to improve the regional cooperation, because we can get inspired by good examples around us in order to improve our activities. Thank you. Thank you very much, Michel, and thank you to all the rest of members of this roundtables. So we have common challenges despite the differences between the regions, and despite the fact that the experiences are different. Each experience is unique, but we have common issues such as the awareness raising, the reused water, the innovation research projects. So we have very little time left, but I would like to give you just a general question in order to engage this debate. So how do you imagine the future of the water management in your different institutions? Can we start with you, Luis? So the future of water management in Costa Brava, we really have analyzed it lately. And we are thinking from now to 2040, 2050, but the drought problem is faster. So we need to make sure that from here to 2050 we have a sustainable action that is carried out. We need to purify the water, especially the water that provides from desalination plants. We need to treat the water in order to make sure that we have good drinking quality water. Also, we need to have this water available just in case there is a drought in order to use this water. So we believe that this will be a way to guarantee the supply of drinking water whenever we have more extreme situations of climate change or of drought like this one. So Laura, I believe that the most important part is the awareness. We need to raise the awareness of all the different stakeholders about the water that is used, and we need to not only we need to count the cubic meters that we use, but also be extremely aware that all this water that we're using is getting a new life. We need to optimize our results through the use, the management of the used water. And as I told you from the beginning, we have a general and common problem, but in our municipality we depend 85% of external resources of water. So 55% of the water that we use is desalinated water. And also in terms of the visitors that we have a year, and now, for example, our main goal would be to try to regenerate the highest percentage of we can of reused water. We need to reduce the consumption of our tourists, but also of our residents. So the campaigns that we carry out for the main residents are very important, but the hotel sector and tourism sector in Calvia are extremely aware of the gravity of the problem, and they are helping us in our actions. And I believe that in the future we need to really create these networks of 150 kilometers in order to make sure that all the golf courts, the sports facilities, all the hotels and all the consumers and the public administration in all the different villages understand that 1 cubic meter of regenerated water can be transformed into can be reused, because we cannot use drinking water for any other use that is not drinking, because the situation is absolutely extreme. It is critical, and we need to make sure that all our citizens and all the stakeholders in the tourism sector are aware of this. And I believe that through the public-private collaboration, we can really move very fastly to try to solve this problem. And what is one of the main conclusions of what we heard?
Miguel, com imagines el futur?
Okay, Miguel, how do you imagine the future of your region? Actually, there was something that I didn't say at the beginning. Personally, I am quite pessimistic in terms of the awareness raising, because if we believe that a tourism that has been spending the whole year trying to save water, and if we imagine that this person, when they come on vacation, they're going to be more aware, they're going to drink as much as they can, they're going to take as many showers as they can, so it's very complicated to change their behavior. The only way to have them change their behaviors is to give them incentives. I don't know, for example, you push them to do something, you need to motivate motivate them with different incentives. And I'm talking about not only the clients, but also the personnel that works in the tourism sector. So we need to motivate them, because sometimes they will hear us and many other times they just don't care because they're working. So this is a huge effort that we need to carry out. We need to use technology in order to really create some motivation and incentives to all those people to reduce the consumption of water. So and also we need to improve the desalination activities, because many people criticize us because we produce a lot of salt. So for each 10,000 liters of water, we have 20,000 liters of salted water. So and also they consume a huge level of energy. So we need to improve the technology, and we have green technology. We also have solar panels also. So we are carrying out a lot of efforts also in terms of the salted water. Basically, we don't have the ideal solutions. So we need to make sure that we are improving our techniques in the future. I believe that the future is based on improving the circularity of the water uses, but this circularity goes against the public policies. So we need to work on micro circularities, and because we have so many leaks and we have a lot of technologies, artificial intelligence absolutely everywhere, and we need to use this artificial intelligence in order to follow up and to control the leaks, and any action, the smallest one, will be extremely important, because this is what I mean when I talk about micro circular actions, and the water, the salt, the leaks. We need to work on all these different elements. And for example, the salted water that we have in our desalination plants, so we can use it also for the production of green energy. Also, there are many new technologies there that we need to explore. We have so many technological solutions that allow us to recirculate the water once and once again. And we need to work also on the regulations also, for example, the swimming pool filters, etc. So we need to work comprehensively. We cannot work only in focusing in just different sectors or different uses. We need to be as comprehensive as possible. We need to work on the regulating framework. And is this going to function? Yes, we need to really learn from the good examples that we see around us. Thank you so much. And now to finish, I will give the floor to Michel. If you how do you imagine the future of water management in the leisure ports? I do agree what has been said. You know, the owners of boats are exactly like owners of second houses also. They consume water. So all the different ports that we have in Occitanie, they want to control the water consumption. So we have a program of installing fiber optics in all our ports. Nowadays, all our ports, they have fiber optics that allow us to gather all the information possible. And also, we will need to install water meters also, because even if the people pay a lot for water, but they don't know exactly what is the water that they are consuming, will never have good results. So the best way of making them aware is just putting a meter on the water that they use and showing them how much money they have paid for this water and double the price of the water. So they will reduce this use. We have an easier situation in the eastern part of Occitania, but in the western part, the situation is much more critical. So we have a huge potential to improve our water consumption. So we need to create incentives in order to create fresh areas and to reduce the use of the water, to reuse also the water. We have huge potential there. So we need to make the consumers pay for the water in order for them to be extremely aware of the price of the water that they are consuming excessively. And they need to understand that this resource is scarce, and also we need to diversify the water resources, especially with reused water. I have 3 minutes left, and I would like to go back to what has been said many times here, which is the awareness raising of the water users. I see that everyone is more or less agrees on the fact that we need to really work on this awareness raising. Maybe double the price for those consumers who are using too much water. We have many other ideas. We talked about the meters, etc. So you said that the tourists don't collaborate very efficiently in the sustainable management of the water. So that's why in our project, Wat'Savereuse, our main goal is to really make sure that all these stakeholders in the tourism sector are aware that a better management of the water, much more sustainable use of the water is much better. So we realized that through the studies that we have and the surveys that we have carried out, that the tourists usually are not aware of the use of water that they have. Did you see any change in terms of the water use in the different tourism establishments? How do you see any differences between these different establishments, and how can we improve the good practices and push the tourists to use better the water?
Well, in our case, we are far from this direct relationship with the user. I assign my time to others who have a direct relationship with these stakeholders. Well, with what we were provided with, I must say that customers did ask a lot, and they were informing themselves about whether we were participating in new projects, what they meant. But let's say, obviously, youngsters, you would usually find the paper in the dustbin. But it is true that there is a greater trend in asking questions. As a colleague said, it's not enough with just one thing. The customer needs to see that you're doing things. You need to incentivate actions on the part of the client. If they cooperate with you, there will be a better result, so that the water is not misused. Or another of the ideas I mentioned, which is this project that we started now, which is the eco-sustainable room, where your customer might decide not to change the towels regularly, or where the client can decide not to wash or change something. I think communication is key, so that clients can understand that you are trying to do things well and that you are trying to achieve the right results. Marcos, what would you say? You said users and tourists are aware of the situation there. Well, what Mikel said is obvious, so obvious, that conveying that to public policy or public politics may be complicated. We politicians are the first that need to be more transparent. What Mikel said is true. We cannot ask someone who is coming here to enjoy themselves to behave exactly the same way as they would at home. But there is so much room for improvement that if we are able to ensure that hotels, as well as other operators receiving visitors, start from there If they're able to be aware of the situation, then any step improving the behavior of these tourists will have an important cumulative effect. In Calvià, for instance, we have 19 different areas, as many areas as tourist offers we have. Calvià is a municipality that you might not know of, but if I say Magaluf, you might be able to better understand that the tourism of excesses, drunken tourists, is something that you also have in Catalonia. It means that this kind of profile of customer is something that we can steer clear from. We are trying to change the tourism destination, the type of customer we receive. And by that, we can make consumption to be more sustainable. The administration needs to change the destination, offering a resilient destination, responsible towards the environment, and then continue to work along these lines. But we can't just see one thing after the other. We can all work together to make sure that all customers can be more responsible. Those who are looking for leisure can find their place in our municipality too. In the current critical times, we had to make significant efforts, but we can say that the private offer has made significant investments in changing their model. We have accompanied this process. So, by changing the type of tourist, a tourist that also looks for sustainable tourism, a tourism that is not only just sun and beach, then we can move on. But by and large, being able to provide and make things easier to the productive industry is making things easier to the residents. Sharing information, using our networks, and not just wait and see, but continue to maintain contacts to see what the effects are. This is trial and error. We need to carry on working. But we, from the public sector, need to be convinced of this. All administrations need to be aligned so that this can permeate and reach all the stakeholders. I would like to make a comment, which I think is important. I think that communication should not only be on the part of the establishments. Communication should stem from city councils and tour operators and travel agents. That is, when the customer reaches an airport, there should be a big banner there saying, what we are measuring and we are responsible. We are working to ensure we can have good water optimization. The message would be conveyed not by the establishment, but by all means possible. And I think this is the best way that we can work all on the same line. And in relation to that, this is a marketing measure. I mean, what you're doing with that is that the hotel would issue such a communication. The image would be good because it would portray the hotel as worried for water consumption, informing the customer about that. But what I cast doubt on is that that customer, because of that reason, may change their behavior. I don't think they will. Because as I said so earlier, they spend the whole year almost dreaming about that holiday. It's as if that person would come for 10 years at your hotel restaurant where you've been serving a wine bottle of an X quality, and next year he finds himself with a different quality of wine, lower quality. He will say, why? If there is no additional incentive, they will not understand that. Let me give you another example. We are implementing water flow counters for taps and for showers. They worked very well, but we had to remove them. Why? Because the customers have been saying, I used to shower at this pressure with this feeling, and now I can no longer do that. I'm no longer interested. And we said, yes, but what about the Mediterranean, so on and so forth. They say, I'm paying, and for these 10 days, I want comfort. It's a constant struggle, a difficult one. I mean, it is true, some customers are very much in favor of measures like these. But what I have seen over the years is that over those 2 weeks, these people don't want to say yes to the removal of these comforts. I mean, you can always put the cost up and provide other kinds of benefits. But other than this, current technology, current measures should be incorporated in addition to everything that has been said. I'm referring to AI. Right now, if you put a monitor at the hotel entry, and the AI will be able to say, depending on what it can analyze, that you have a toilet in such room that it's losing water. Then thermal blankets. In external swimming pools that you are warming, you leave them uncovered all night. Water is evaporating. Filtration washing. If we could have a less stringent regulation, maybe that could help. There are many different things that I would focus on before raising awareness among customers, because they might see this as cumbersome, because they just want to be here on holiday. They just want to be left in peace. Not everybody think that way, but 80% of my customers would think like that. It's very difficult to change their thoughts with regards to these 2 sacred weeks. But this is a global problem. Everybody can see that there's water scarcity. So I think that there will be people who will come here to enjoy themselves and not change the way they act. But you can see this daily on social media, on television, everywhere. Well, excuse me. An architect will draft a new hotel, will put less or more swimming pools. There will be personalized swimming pools for each room. I mean, this is an exaggeration, but they will say this is what the customer wants. This is a dilemma. On the one hand, they all put themselves the medal saying this is all green, but then over those 2 weeks, 400 liters per person per day. That's incredible. Well, we need to close the panel, but I agree. In 10 years' time, maybe we meet again, and we could conclude that luxury is not to be comfortable. Maybe it's not just having a shower 4 times a day. Thank you all for your attention, and I would like to thank the speakers for sharing their views and for sharing their success stories with us. A round of applause for them. Well, thank you very much for this roundtable, which has highlighted this need of talking and about this work of the Water Save Reuse project. There is always this need to find solutions, right? As I said at the beginning, since the month of February, the Catalan government took over the presidency of this Euroregion. And to conclude this event on the World Day of Water, we have Mr. Bernat Costas Castilla, Secretary General of the Department for Foreign Action and the Environment. Good evening. Good evening to you all. Thank you very much. Right Honourable Minister of Environment of the Balearic Islands, Minister of the Occitania region, Director General of the Catalan Water Agency, Secretary General of Climate Action of the Catalan Government. Allow me to start my closing remarks against the protocol with 3 apologies. The first, on behalf of Regional Minister Serret of European Action. She would have loved to be here with all of you today, but unfortunately she's on her way to Madrid, where tomorrow she will be appearing to declare before the Commission of the Parliament, of the European Parliament, investigating the uses of espionage technology, the Pegasus case. And as a result, she will not be able to be here with us today. And secondly, I would like to express my apologies for not being present throughout the whole session, with the exception of the final part of the roundtable, which has shown an extraordinary level and great use. So apologies for that too. And thirdly, I would also like to apologize for my voice today and for my cold. I hope it will not put me in a difficult situation even more. So the severe situation of drought we are witnessing has led the government to approve 3 weeks ago a decree law to intensify the restrictions on the use of water, especially to be able to guarantee drinking water supply to the population. Over recent years, rainfall in the rainwater basin in Catalonia experienced a significant reduction, which has heightened in 2021. And in 2021, it heightened even more. That is why the topic of this session is paramount: the improvement in the management and reduction in the use of water through territorial cooperation. This is a goal set on the context of the priorities of the presidency of the Pyrenees Mediterranean region, which since the 10th of February will be held by the Catalan government over the next 2 years. A task promoted by the presidency aims to deploy the Euroregional 2030 roadmap to move forward with the European integration, but from a clear citizenship perspective. We want to open up the Euroregion project to the citizenship, ensuring the active participation of territorial agents, with a special emphasis on the role played by youth and with a clear will of working on issues of real social impact in the regions of the Euroregion. That is why issues such as these are important. We want to share solutions for common problems, and this is part of the way, of the nature of this Euroregion. The next 2 years will focus on sustainability challenges and the various fields of action in this Euroregion. The initiatives on the context of social development, economic development, territorial development promoted will be subject to the preservation of the natural areas, biodiversity, water, forests, and maritime ecosystems. Because of this, it is very important to cooperate strongly between regions in this Euroregion in terms of ecological transformation. In this context, water scarcity is one of the key problems that we all suffer in these regions, which has led to extreme situations and the interest for the development of our economies and the well-being of our citizens. We would like to address the challenges stemming from climate change by acting from a Euro-regional perspective and with lines of action such as the promotion, as mentioned previously and intensely, of a responsible tourism model. Today, we have presented the results of a successful European project led by this Euroregion, this is an example of our interest in positioning this region in the context of European practice. We want to promote the Euroregion within the EU, and to do so, we have set ourselves as a goal to support from our associations and institutions the Secretariat of the Euroregion to turn it into a unique entity for European projects with a regional outlook. We consider that leadership, the identification of opportunities, the promotion of European projects, and we will strengthen our influence and we will endeavour to promote allegiances in Euro-national cooperation. Lastly, since we are in this palace of Pedralbes, the white stones, that's the origin of its name, allow me this opportunity to emphasize that in this same palace, there's the headquarters of the Union for the Mediterranean. This is part of our commitment of Catalonia and our country to the process of Barcelona, to the Barcelona process and the Euro-Mediterranean partenariat that started here more than 25 years ago. From the Euroregion and this Euro-Mediterranean promotion, we want to strengthen alliances for a macro-regional strategy and alliance encompassing the whole of the Mediterranean, and must respond in a coordinated manner to common challenges, especially those of an environmental nature that affect the host of countries in the Mediterranean basin. The declaration of the President and former President of the Euroregion in favor of the Euro-Mediterranean region, signed on February the 10th, is a clear example of this commitment, of this political will. And allow me to conclude by first wishing the utmost success to the proposals put forward for the Wat'Savereuse, the LIFE project presented here today, and also by thanking the participation and the presence of each and every one of you in this session, especially those who have shared their view, their expertise throughout today's session, and those who contributed to organizing this session from the Euro-Mediterranean Pyrenees and the Catalan Water Agency. Thank you so much to you all. Have a very good evening.
Doncs moltes gràcies al senyor.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Bernat Costas. And finally, thank you all for being here. And thank you for working hard. This world of water, this world where we need where we need more partnership and more cooperation, is a world that is very complex. A world that must be addressed. We need to get ready for the future. We did so in the past, not having water when you open the tap. Maybe we would have to witness that situation again, but with a society that is much more demanding. It demands much more from the public authorities, the press, and all of us. It's a complex future. But this is the world that we must live in, a world that we must manage together. But with the Catalan Water Agency now has prepared some beverages for us to enjoy this World Water Day. Thank you so much to you all.